All right, it's 5 o'clock. Time for the Murray City Municipal Council special meeting for December 12th, 2022. And I want to welcome everyone. It's so nice to see you here on such a blustery afternoon, evening. Anyway, it's good to see you. If you would turn off your cell phones, I would appreciate it. And now all council members are present, including GL, the mayor, and Brooke. Bless you. And my husband. That's right. This special meeting is called to determine who the next District 1 council member will be. We have, let's see, 6 applicants, 7 applicants? Six. We have 6 applicants. And I just want to thank you all for your willingness to serve the citizens of Murray by applying for this position. I think maybe you're a little crazy, but we really appreciate your being here. And anyway, so we will continue on. And GL Critchfield, our attorney, will explain the process. And again, welcome and thank you all for being here and your willingness to serve and apply for this position. GL?
Thank you. Thank you for your interest in being here tonight. I think it'd be wise and appropriate if I would call your name, if you'll just raise your hand or stand up and acknowledge that you're here so we know who is here. We started with 9 applicants. We don't have all 9 here, so we can see who is here. In alphabetical order, Jeff Dredge. Oh, I'm sorry, hang on. Sorry. So Brandon Craig Beckstead was the first on the list and is not here tonight. Next would be Jeff Dredge, Samantha Eldridge.
Can I just insert here? Samantha Eldridge did email me. She had an emergency.
Okay.
Had to take her to the reservation, so she couldn't attend and withdraw her application.
Okay, thank you very much. Another one who is not here tonight was Anthony F. Lund. Is that correct? He's not here. Okay. Philip J. Markham, Roberto Paul Pickett, Michael S. Richards, David Rogers, and Scott Woodbury. All right, thank you. State law requires that when we have a vacancy, that applicants submit their names, and you've all done that, and then you appear in front of the city council for an interview in an open meeting. The city council each have one question to ask. If you look to your left, Patty there will tell you what order you'll be in answering the questions. If you'll watch Jennifer Kennedy, she's over there at the table, keeping the clock. You'll have 1 minute and 45 seconds to answer the question. There'll be 4 questions. Following the interviews, there'll be a vote. And the vote will, by state law, eliminate everybody but 2 people. Then there'll be a second vote. And the majority of the person who gets the majority will become the next city council member. Let's see, it looks like Jennifer, if you'll watch Jennifer, she'll give you a 30-second warning when your time's about to expire, before it expires. And then, as I said, to watch Patty, because the order of answering the questions will change with each vote. And she's great. She's done this before. She'll have you come up when it's your turn. With that, I think we can begin.
Gary has the first question.
Thank you all for being here. In a quick introduction, Gary Harakasi, I'm the representative for District 5. I also went through this process in January, so I know what you all are about to go through. It's a lot of work to answer all these questions in the interview. So the first question, I want to be clear that this is not a requirement for the position. However, based on what you know about city government, What do you see as top priorities for the city and why? And so Jeff will be first.
Thank you. I'm glad you're not doing this on looks because there's a lot of good-looking people over there, and I'm not sure I'd make it. You know, local government is the closest thing to the people. And if I were to ask what the biggest issue facing the city right now would be, the same thing that I think it was when I was on the city council and the planning and zoning for, and that's land use. How to balance the growth that we're having with the multifamily with the need for a healthy business environment to strengthen the city's coffers. You know, we've had good department heads here that have done a great job with police and fire and all the other departments that we have in Murray. But I think the recurring problem is developers wanting to build something that's not necessarily congruent with the neighbors. And how do we effectively address that? So that's my thoughts.
Then we'll have Philip. And followed by Roberto, then Michael, David, and Scott. So you guys can all line up. That'll make
Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Murray. When I think of Murray, the important things to me are maintaining the quality of life that is here. And by quality of life, that encompasses a lot of things. It's safety. It's the cleanliness of the neighborhoods, of the business environment. It's also protecting that business environment, as Jeff said. I believe that about 50% of the land mass in Murray City is nonprofit presently. That puts a huge burden on the other 50% that we generate tax revenue to provide the services that make Murray what it is. And that's a big priority. And I also think that there needs to be some solid direction on downtown. We've spun our wheels forever on downtown. There needs to be a plan. There needs to be movement forward. Murray's getting lapped by surrounding communities. Look at Midvale. Look at South Salt Lake. Look at Mill Creek. They're making progress on these areas in redevelopment. And yet, we continue to spin our wheels. Thank you.
Make it easy for you. I go by the name of Paul here in the U.S. I go by Roberto in my home country of Argentina. I grew up in the city of San Miguel de Tucumán in the northern part of Argentina, and I saw what happens when your city is not properly planned and not properly developed in a way to benefit the citizens. We chose Murray as our location. We didn't land here by accident. We could have bought a bigger house in South Jordan when we moved here from Washington. But we chose Murray because of the way it was run. It was such a beautiful place, and it still is a beautiful place. I do believe that there is an immense need for affordable housing balanced with the needs of the current population. I go to the Spanish church here, and I live and work among Hispanics, and their biggest complaint is we'll never be able to afford to buy a house in Murray. We love Murray. We'll never be able to afford to buy something here. And on the other side, my neighbors are like, they're building another apartment complex over there. We don't want that here. And how do you balance the need for both? I think that's a huge issue for Murray right now and a crucial point of our development. What we do now is going to lay the groundwork for the future. Once we cover the land, once we concrete something, once we throw a building, we've determined that future for the next 50 years. We have to be careful and balance the needs of everything when we do that. Thanks.
Good evening. Michael Richards. So I work at Primary Children's Hospital, and often the discussion of meetings and priorities as we have those conversations in meetings comes down to three things. The people that we're serving, the people that are serving the people, and resources. In most of my approach for anything, that's what it comes down to in decision making. For Murray City specifically, a lot of it's been mentioned. There's a housing problem across the country. In my last year being involved in the zoning or the planning commission, I've learned a bit more about how the challenges that we're facing, the emotions that are behind the challenges that we're facing. And I think, number one is addressing housing and within the city. That ties into the people that live here. And then number two, just, how do we manage the resources in an economic environment that is off the charts? And I think to do that, you need somebody with balanced decision-making, but somebody who will also put people first over any decision. Thank you.
Hi, members of the City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. When I think about the biggest priority that the city is facing, I think that it's accommodating the needs of the citizens as the city itself changes. As more people live here, as more businesses come in here, people want to live in Murray. It's a great place to be. It's in a great location in the most populous county in the state, and people know that. People want to come live, work, and play in Murray City. And I think the biggest priority for the city should be maintaining the services that the city provides for the residents of the city, and that happens by having the best staff, by making sure those staff are taken care of, by using the resources the city has to provide amenities such as the Park Center, to continue access to open space, different parks that we have, Murray Park, the Jordan River Trail. I think by balancing that quality of life, as more residents come in, as more businesses come in, making sure residents have the highest quality of services possible through taking care of the great staff that we have working here in the city. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm excited and grateful for this opportunity. I appreciate the words that they gave, and many of them I share. But when I think about Murray City, my wife and I, we've been here 22 years, and neither of us grew up in Murray. And everyone's like, whoa, how did you end up here? Well, we were drawn here because the housing was affordable when we first came out. We looked in some other places where we were from, and we couldn't afford there. So we came to Murray, and we loved it. We fell in love with it. And we've been involved in many, many aspects. In the schools, I was on the planning commission, the recreation programs. And so when I think about Murray and I think about the priorities of Murray, it's really four things. And it starts with, we have to provide safe communities. People have to feel safe. They don't want to live where it's not safe. They don't want to shop where it's not safe. So it starts with feeling safe. And it's not just about physical safety, but you got to feel safe and comfortable that you can be who you are and live your beliefs in your neighborhood. And then the second one is about making sure that we have open and transparent government. We need to make sure we have a duty as a government and as a city to make sure that we're clear on what our priorities are. The third one is our education. I love Murray School District. It's so unique, and I love it for what it is. And then the fourth one has been addressed by many of the people here. It's about that balance of having the businesses with growth and with the housing that comes with that. So thank you.
Okay, Pam?
Okay, so I was 5.5 years ago, Mayor, I was sitting out there. So I know what 5.5 years ago, I feel everything that you're feeling right now. So my question is to you, is what do you hope to accomplish as a city council member? And we will start with Mr. Markham, then Mr. Pickett, Mr. Richards, Mr. Rogers, Mr. Woodbury, and Mr. Dredge.
Thank you. The primary thing for me is and always will be respect. If people respect what I am doing, the job that I have done during the time that I am here, then I've done a good job. That's the most important thing. No one is going to make the correct answer every single time on every issue that pleases everyone. You have to make the best decision you can. You have to be able to defend that, and you have to stand by it. And I know at times that's very difficult. Planning and zoning taught us those lessons. but I'm very proud of the time that I spent on planning and zoning and chairing that commission. And so you can talk about individual issues, but I really do think that it comes down to respect. Not just at this level, but at all levels of government, at all levels of our life. If people believe you're doing your best and you're making the best decision for everyone, you've done your job.
Thank you.
There are three things that I would like to accomplish if I'm chosen to be part of this group. Number one, there was a feeling in my neighborhood, at least, that council was unapproachable. I'd like to be the approachable counselor who can be around for my neighbors to come to me. They know where I live. I've been there for 22 years. My kids have probably egged their houses a few times, so they come over to tell on my kids. So that's the number one thing. I want to make sure that I'm available. Number two, the budget is really a concern to me. I'm a fiscal conservative. I know that money needs to be spent, but it needs to be spent wisely. So I want to make sure that we take care of the budget, that what we're looking for, what we're trying to do is really beneficial and balanced. And number three, I think city employees need to be taken care of. The city needs to retain the best talent possible, and we need to, as keepers of the council and of the budget, be aware of them and take care of them and what they do. Thank you.
I think I don't necessarily have an agenda to serve on city council. I think I would love to do the right thing. I'd like to be part of the decision-making process. And what that means to me is using the same terms we've been using, balanced decision-making around people. I grew up in Murray. I've seen Murray grow. I've come back to live myself in Murray. And going back to my previous comment, I think organizations flourish when you take care of the people. And the decision-making should be filtered through both a balanced, the economic side of it, and how that's going to impact the people. Working up at Primary Children's, we've been short-staffed, and it's been a hard go for the past 3 years. And I've seen, working with people, that if you take care of them, they will produce what you want them to do. So in terms of decision-making, that would probably be at the forefront of my mind, and what I want to accomplish. Thank you.
When I was thinking about why I wanted to apply to be on the city council, the number one thing that was sticking out to me was I want everyone who interacts with their local government to have a positive experience. Our government interacts with people on so many different levels, whether they're going to the library, whether they're using the park center or park place, whether whether they're having snow be plowed. The government interacts with them on so many different levels. And in my career so far, I've had the opportunity to work for some cities and be that direct connection with applicants who would come in or members of the public who would come to talk with the city. And I learned that the best thing that I could do in that role, and I believe that I could do as a city council member as well, is to just have them have a positive experience. Let them know that the city council cares about them, what is important to them, what issues that they have. Make sure that I listen to what they want to say and do my best to understand. I know I won't understand everything all the time, and I know that I won't be perfect in all of the decisions that I would make, but I want everyone who interacts with me as a city council member to walk away feeling like they were heard, they were listened to, and that the government cares about them and that they have a positive experience. Thank you.
I think that's a wonderful question. Make sure that we all want to accomplish things. I don't have all the answers. I never will. And so the number one thing for me is to understand what the people that I'd represent would want, meet with them, make sure that I was available, that I was open, that I was transparent, and that I could represent. I actually had one of my neighbors the other day, when they saw that I was going through this process, if you get put on the board, I want to talk to you about this. I want to talk to you about this. And so I think that's the number one responsibility we have. I think the second thing is Murray is a unique city, and it's a wonderful city. We have a unique pride. We have a unique culture. Even things like our power department and school district, all those things add to who Murray is. And I think our decisions as a council, as a city, need to help preserve that. We don't want Murray to become like any other city. Certainly we can learn from other cities, but we don't want to become like any other city. Thank you.
I'm trying to decide if it's harder to go first or last. 'Cause I gave a lot of good answers. You know, what I want to accomplish is longer recess and free vending machines. That's what I'm running for. No, you know, as I've grown older, I have grown to really appreciate the value of councils. No one has all the answers, and the best answer usually comes from listening to other members of the group that you're counseling with. And so as I look at the possibility of filling this role for a somewhat short period of time, I don't have a predefined list of things that I want to accomplish. I know that the city's running. I know that things are going on. And what I don't want to do is come in as a bull in a china closet. I'd like to come in, listen, see where things are, and then counsel together on how we best represent the citizens of Murray. We get elected by a district, but we represent the community. And so it would be my goal to, with those I would be potentially serving with, listen, counsel together, and make decisions that are good for the whole.
Okay.
I'm next.
Rosalba.
Yeah. All right. Here's your question. When making decisions, how would you determine what is in the best interests of the city? And please feel free to repeat the question if you forget along the way. So I'm going to repeat it one more time. When making decisions, how would you determine what is in the best interests of the city? And we'll start with David Rogers.
Thank you. I think for me, the best way to determine what the community is looking for is to talk to the community, to do what I can to interact with people in the districts, in the city, hear what their concerns are, hear what their priorities are, and to really listen to what they're looking for out of their local government, and to work together with our staff, to work together with other members of the city council, to really determine how we can all work together to move the best way forward. I don't think anyone has one answer. Murray's not a single person. Murray's a community. Murray's all of us together who live here. We all get to decide what we want Murray to look like and how we want Murray to move forward. And I think the most honest way to learn that is really to just talk to people, to ask them what their concerns are, to listen to what they have to say, and to take all of that into account at the best way that we can, and vote and make decisions and work for their interests the best way that we can. Thank you.
I think that's a wonderful question, and you ask 100 people what's in the best interest, and you're going to get 100 different answers. But when I first heard that question, I thought back to some of the experiences we had on the Planning Commission. And so often people would come in and say, the citizens, hey, this is what I want you to do with this area. And it was a wonderful idea, but then you'd look at the cost, you'd look at the statutes that are governing that, and you try to have to weigh all the different sides. And so it really involves understanding all the different aspects of an issue and then trying to make the best decision with the available information. Trusting the experts. I wasn't an expert in traffic, so we would trust the experts on traffic. We would trust the experts on soil samples and all the different things. We'd trust the staff. We'd trust GL on the legal side. I think the best interest of the city is making sure you're taking into account all the bits of information and then coming to the best conclusion based on that information. Thank you.
I think you get to the crux of council in that question. It's been my experience that as much as we try, getting citizens involved is awfully difficult at times. And sometimes the ones that you talk to have a very narrow frame of focus. It's what's in their backyard. And as a council, going back to we make decisions for all of Murray, I think you begin with listening to the information that's been prepared by staff. We need to trust them. Not that they're going to come to us with answers, but in studying the material. And then we all come at it with a little bit different perspective. My background's business. I've had a business in Murray for 35 years, and so I'm going to look at it with a little bit of a business point of view. But I greatly value someone who comes up with maybe a little bit of a artistic point of view, or how does this impact the school district point of view. And so when we balance input from the citizens where you can get it, information from the staff, counseling together, and then quite frankly, often the best decision is the long-term decision that's unpopular in the short term. And so you have to be willing sometimes to do things that the vocal minority doesn't find too appealing, but we're looking out for the best of the city.
Thinking about this question, 3 things came to mind for me, and that is, number 1 is education, number 2 is collaboration, and number 3 is the willingness to compromise when necessary. So on education, it's not just about talking to citizens. That's a huge part of it, but you've got to educate yourself on the issue, and that requires studying the issue, talking to staff, talking to experts outside of Murray City perhaps. You take that education, then you collaborate with your colleagues on the council. You find out how they feel. You work together, find common ground. And if there isn't a consensus for common ground, swallow hard and collaborate and compromise. And know that no one person has all the answers. I think that in our society today, we're polarized because people refuse to compromise. And it's something we need to bring back.
I'm going to answer the question by sharing 2 experiences that I had in my work as a planning manager for the LDS Church. I was working with seminaries and institutes, and I was over the planning for the Western United States. And we had a situation in a building in Vancouver, Washington, a really nice seminary building where the enrollment had dropped below what they qualified for. And the building was costing us about $120,000 a year in maintenance and operation fees. And it came to a point where we had to surplus the building. I went over there and met with the local leadership, and I said, I'm here to do a very unpopular thing, but I'd like your opinion first. And I listened to them, and they were very much against us closing that building. They even brought parents, and they brought people who lives had been touched because of the program there. And I heard a couple of hours of really good reasons why we should keep that building open. I came home with that information. I brought it back to my team. We discussed what they said and what we had, and we ended up surplusing the building. A very unpopular decision. But after that, I went back to Vancouver and I met with them in person. And I said, here's why we did it. And I want to come in person and tell you why we're doing it. I don't want it to be an email. I don't want to hide behind something. I want to be able to tell you in person. Then I had an opposite experience with Berkeley Institute. I went to Berkeley to close the Berkeley Institute. They told me why it shouldn't be closed. I brought it back to our team here. They said, you're right, it shouldn't be closed. I said, okay, if that's the right decision, we'll go with that. Both times I had to do something that I thought was the opposite thing we should do, but because I consulted with people who knew and understood better and listened to them, I was able to make, I think, the right decision for both of them.
So I love the comment about compromise. I think in our country, we need to learn again how to compromise when things are heated. We have different feelings about things. There are also three things that I would approach the decision-making. One would be listening tour. So at the hospital where I work, any new assignment I'm given, I go on a listening tour, and I listen to people. I listen to what they're saying, how they're saying it, and try and understand the human experience that they're having with whatever issue. And then second, I look at the data, and I try and apply a critical thinking approach to the data. I try and check my bias, my cognitive bias, many different forms of them. And then I think that, it's the compromise. You put all those things together and you try and filter all those things to make a good decision. So, thank you.
All right. Now we're at the last question. Hooray! And we'll start with Scott Woodbury. The question is, name 3 qualities a council member should have. 3 qualities a council member should have.
That's a great question. Since I'm here and not my wife, I guess they're my qualities and not what my wife may answer. But, I think number one is you got to have the ability to respectfully have constructive dialogue. And maybe you have to. You have to be able to, as Phil said and as others, Paul, number one, you have to be able to understand, stay cool under pressure. You can't get upset. You can't take things personal. So that's number one. I think number two is ability to really communicate effectively, both in word and in emails. Communication is critical. And then the third one, I think, is you have to have pride in what you're doing. You have to have pride in the city. You have to have pride in the projects that are coming to the city council from the planning commission or any other area. You have to make sure that you look at this and say, is this something we're going to be proud of? I think you got to be proud of what we're doing. Murray is a wonderful place, and we need to be proud of what we're doing. So those 3 things.
Thank you.
I think the 3 attributes that are most important for a member of the city council is the ability and desire to listen and to hear what other people are saying to you. I think having the desire to just be honest in everything that you're doing, and honest when you're working with the public, honest when you're working with staff, honest when you're working with other members of the city council and other elected officials. And I think kindness with everyone you interact with. Let people know that you care. Let people know that they're important and that they matter and that what they care about matters. And really combining those to be able to listen to people's concerns, whether that's the public, whether that's staff, whether that's applicants, or anyone that you interact with, being able to listen, to care about what matters to them, why it matters to them, and really be able to show them the respect that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think, first of all, you need to be approachable. People can't be afraid to come to you with concerns or issues or questions. And once you are approachable, then it's key that you listen. You have to listen and listen sincerely and ask them questions and flesh out their feelings and their concerns. And once that is done, then you have to put the work in to find the right answer. You can't just put something off to the side and say, I'll just go with, the majority or whatever. You've got to put in the time to research and find the answer that you feel most comfortable with and make that decision.
I was going to say something about a very soft tushy so you could sit for hours in meetings, but I better not since we're in a serious situation. But I do believe that to be on the council, you have to have a thick skin. You can't just react to everything that comes at you. You have to have the ability to be mature enough to take in the negative comments, which will come, and the criticism that will come, and accept it for what it is. Someone has a strong opinion. It's okay. I'll listen to that strong opinion. I may not always agree with you 100%, but I want to make sure that I understand where you're coming from. That's an important attribute for a council member to have. Number two, availability. You have to be there for the people. I can't be the guy who doesn't answer emails for a month. I have to be the person who checks my emails every night and go, okay, I got 6 emails from my people, my neighbors. I got to take a moment and answer that. And number 3, kindness. I know it seems strange, but there's so much unkindness in the world today that it'd be nice to just be kind to everybody in the council and everybody who comes in and presents before the council. Thank you.
So the answer might be communication, communication, communication. It's my experience, and I fell at it a lot, but I also am probably somewhat successful at times. But really, that is my number 1 answer: communication. Number 2 is applying critical thinking skills to the data, to the situation. Just really trying to check bias and arrive at the best data decision. 3 would be the human side of it, empathy, balancing the operations or the operational decision-making of the task at hand and the human experience. In all of my leadership responsibilities at work, that's how I try and approach it with the people I'm working with. And I think it works in any home relationship, it works in any environment. You try and balance the human experience with what we're trying to accomplish. Thank you.
Well, I'd have to agree with what most of you have said. To me, it shows the good people that are applying for this position, where communication is key, kindness, and the willingness to act and not react. And then I'm going to have to agree with setting aside your own ego and biases, and getting back to not just listening and communicating with citizens, but listening and communicating with other members of the council. If you can't do that, you're not going to get anything done. It's just going to melt into a mess of disagreements. And so listening and communication, both inward and outward, kindness, both inward and outward, and be willing to listen and change, both inward and outward. Thank you.
All right. Oh, my goodness. You guys are all awesome. This is tough. Okay.
Can we have some time before
GL?
we make a vote?
If you'd like, you can take a few minutes.
I would like a
You
few
want to
minutes.
just sit here and stay right here would be best,
Yep.
probably.
Just look over all of our notes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. How long should we take? 5 minutes? 10?
How long?
5 minutes.
5 minutes?
5?
Okay.
Okay.
So about 1:45.
I know.
This is a tough.
Okay. All right, we're ready. And again, this is tough. You guys are all awesome. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating. It's really true. You were all very, very, very excellent. So we will take the first roll call vote, and that will be verbal. Is that correct? All right, and
Oh, boy. I get to lead.
and we will have Brooks Smith will call the roll. Thank you, Brooke.
I'm just going to give some of my thoughts real quick. You all did wonderful, and I remember being in your position and how stressful this point of the evening was. So all of you should be commended for stepping forward and raising your hands. I went through all the resumes. You all are very balanced and have a lot of strong qualities. But tonight, the person that probably stood out the most for me was Michael Richards. So that's who I cast my vote for.
Ditto. Yeah, I feel the same way. You are all amazing. Gosh,
So my vote tonight.
She hasn't
I
made her
haven't
vote
voted
yet.
yet.
Oh, I thought you were.
was dittoing
I thought
my
you were
comments.
dittoing.
No, I haven't. I'm still.
Okay. Psych.
Phil Markham.
I just wanted to say you all are pretty amazing. I personally would have loved to see more women. So if you're watching and this happens again, please submit. I think, yes, women have a different perspective, but one thing for District 1 that I do constantly hear from, and I'm going to mention this for anybody that wins this, is District 1 has a higher population of minorities within the city in general. And that to me is very important because I'm the one that gets to field a lot of those calls, or I personally know a lot of people and I do a lot of service within that community, and specifically fire clay. So when deciding on this, it's very much that conversation that should be ongoing, with that in mind. No matter what you're doing, not just to the rest of us. I think everybody's answers, you get the position, the government is, you understand it. And I applaud all of you for your service before. You know, I've done a lot of service outside of the city specifically, and I think it gave me a lot of perspective. Of being on the council gives me so much more perspective, and the camaraderie behind it and the importance of working together is very important. And also putting your feelings aside. I think I resonated a lot with that, and also stating what your feelings are and not taking them personal, because I think that is also important when you are doing this position. I hear it a lot from constituents, and I think, you know, I want to open that dialogue for District 1. And making this decision, my decision would be David Rogers.
As I said, you were all awesome. I mean, you did such a good job, and I know how stressful it is. So again, thank you all for being here. My vote goes to Phil Markham. Okay, now, GL?
So those did not receive a vote are eliminated. That's Mr. Dredge, Mr. Pickett, and Mr. Woodbury. That leaves Mr. Markham with 2 votes, Mr. Richards with 1, and Mr. Rogers with 1. We're required to have 2 people come back for a second vote. So the 2 candidates who each received a single vote will be entered into the lot. and from there we'll get the second candidate.
Gary's a little triggered by this right now.
Stressful.
I know.
A lot.
So.
So it's a second vote between Mr. Mark and Mr. Richards.
I'll keep my vote with Mr. Richards.
My vote would be Phil. Oh, sorry. I apologize. Did I not? I was ready. I apologize.
I'm going to go with Michael Richards.
My vote stands with Phil.
Okay, then mine stays with Phil Markham.
So now we go back to the lot, right? Okay, drawing.
This will be decided by lot.
Startled me. The whole thing startled me.
And do this by the microphone so you can hear me. Again, a lot. So we've got Michael Richards and Phil Markham. Don't like this part. I know. Okay. The person selected is Phil Markham.
Okay, let's see. Now, to the council to consider a resolution appointing Phil Markham as interim Murray City Council member for Council District 1 pursuant to Section 20A-1-510 of the Utah Code to serve until January 2nd, 2024.
I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Great.
I'll make a motion that we adopt a resolution appointing Phil Markham as interim Murray City Council member for Council District 1 pursuant to Section 20A-1-510 of the Utah Code to serve until January 2nd, 2024.
I will. Oh, sorry. I will second that.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll? Thank you, Brooke.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, now we will have a swearing. Oh, sorry, we have a 5-minute recess.
Phil, we're going to have a swearing in now, in 5 minutes, and the city court needs time to print the certificate.
If you want to have a seat, then I'm going to call this back to order. I guess that's what this is for.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're fine.
Gosh, they were all good.
Okay, now. Brooke and Phil, would you like to come up and be sworn in?
Stand right there. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Phil Markham,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support, obey, and defend
to support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and to perform the duties of my office
and to perform the duties of my office
as interim city council member
as interim city council member
representing District 1
representing District 1
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Phil, would you like to say a few words?
You know what? I've said a lot tonight. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is the capper to a long career in city government. As you know, reading my resume, I spent about 35 years in Murray when you count the part-time work and so forth. And so this is, it's very close to me. This means a lot. So just thank you, and I'll do my best.
All right. All right.
Look good, Phil.
Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I make wait, before we do that, can we have someone take a picture of the new 2023 city council? I'm so excited.
All right, everybody smile. 1, 2, 3, turn. We'll try one more time. 1, 2, 3.
Better work on that announcer voice, Tammy.
All right, now.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all again for being here.